Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today I'm really excited to introduce a new camera that I've purchased. In fact, the camera's been around for a couple of years now, so it's not new to the market, but it's certainly new to me. I've been putting off buying it for a long time, so I didn't really think it would be suitable for my needs. I'm actually finding out it's fantastic for my needs, so there you go. And what we're looking at is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. This is obviously the box, that goes without saying. Not very interesting to look at. The reason why I can't physically show you the camera in this particular video, I'm using it to film in this video. And what we're looking at here is from the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera. But don't go by the quality that you're looking at on this video, simply because A, I've only had it for, well, half a day, maybe a day to play with it. And B, I'm feeding the signal via the HDMI out of the 4K, the Pocket 4K, going into my A10 Mini Pro. So the A10 Mini Pro is another Blackmagic product. Fantastic piece of kit. I'm using it in the studio. There will be a link up here somewhere, or is it up here, to my review of the A10 Mini Pro. In fact, I've done several videos on the A10 Mini Pro, but it's only a HD recorder. I'm recording onto a Samsung T5 SSD drive, but it's only HD. So that doesn't really do justice to how great the image quality is from the Blackmagic 4K that we're looking at here. But what I want to do in this video is explain why I've purchased the 4K and what I think of it in the last, well, just few hours I've been playing with it. Now, obviously I think it's great. It has its drawbacks, but we all, if you've watched many videos of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, you'd be aware of its drawbacks, and I was going into the purchase of it. But I've found workarounds for all these drawbacks. It hasn't been an issue for me. Now, I will be using the 4K predominantly in the studio, as I said earlier, but I will be taking it out and about. But in the studio here, I will be connecting it up to my A10 Mini Pro, which is the, as I said, a HD output. But internally, it will record Apple ProRes in all the 4 different qualities, whether it be LT, HQ, I can't remember the other two, Proxy, and there's another one. And it also records Blackmagic RAW, and that's done internally. That's not via an external recorder. When you look at the likes of the Panasonic S5, the S1H, and there's a few others now, isn't there? I think the Nikons do it now. You can record to, say, an Atomos Ninja 5, and you can record in ProRes and you can record in RAW, but you have to go externally. Not with the Pocket 4K. You can actually record internally. As long as you've got a fast enough card, and obviously a big enough card, you can record internally to either a CFast 2 card or a SD card. And I think that's phenomenal. To be able to get that incredible high quality internally, I think is phenomenal. It has got a fan in the camera, but I've never heard it. It's really low noise level. It's certainly not going to be of any consequence to me working in the studio here, and I haven't found the built-in microphones pick it up either. So it is, you know, very well contained. Great piece of kit. The monitor on the back is phenomenal. It doesn't tilt, so that is kind of an issue that it doesn't tilt. But for me, it's not a big issue. I'll just plug another monitor on top. I've got loads of them. The one I really like is where is it? Well, I've got 2 here. The one that is one of my favourite monitors is the Andy Cine 4K. Very light, very compact, and with a proper swivel arm, you can mount that. I've got it on a fitted to a small rig cage. That will go on top of that cage, and that would be absolutely fine. Or if you wanted even a smaller monitor, I've got one of these little Lilliput things. You know, very compact, very tiny. So it's not a big deal, but the camera itself doesn't have a tilting screen. And there's mounting points on the top of the camera and on the bottom of the camera. The other thing I really like, a tiny little thing, but Blackmagic have put 2 locating pins by the tripod mount. So when you do put in, put in a cage, certainly a small rig cage, it uses those 2 locating mounts, so the cage doesn't swivel. It's sturdy, and it's great. The HDMI out is full-size HDMI out. It isn't micro HDMI out, so you get a much better connection. and it's got XLR inputs, obviously a standard 3.5mm microphone jack and headphone jack. So you know, it's an incredibly highly specified camera, and it comes complete with DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio or Studio 17, which I think is 300 quid to buy. So you know, there's a lot of benefits with you know, this camera at a fantastic price point. I mean, it's a fantastic price point for what it can do. It's not a hybrid camera, so hopeless for taking photographs. It doesn't take photographs. But if you're looking for a great cinema camera, then this is definitely worth looking at. But it hasn't got, as I say, continuous autofocus. So it's not great if you, you know, if you've got it on a gimbal and you can't adjust for focus, then possibly a Sony or a Canon would be a better option. But if you're happy with manual focus or snap to focus, which I'm beginning to find is working great. Now, what I say is working great, this app. Now, I downloaded an app, cost me £5, and I've got it loaded on my iPhone 13 Pro. It'll work on pretty much any iOS device, and it is absolutely fantastic. Now, I want to know why other manufacturers can't do what Blackmagic are doing. Now, Blackmagic have got this sussed out. This app is working flawlessly with my Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. It took a matter of minutes, not even that, to set up. Absolutely phenomenal. And what I really love about this, because I'm working solo, I need something that I know I can get the focus right. Well, although this camera is manual focus, look at this. Look, you'll love this. You can go into this little icon here, which looks like an infinity icon. That brings up the focus guide, whatever you want to call it. And you also do rack focusing, so you can set a point where it will focus between two different points. But it's got itself set at B at the moment. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to move the focus, and I'm doing that from the app. So prior to filming, I can actually set my focus point without having to be behind the camera. And as long as I've got a HDMI monitor, as it happens today I have, what we're going to do now, you'll see the focus. So let's just go back, so you can see there the focus point is set wherever it's set. So now if I move that, you'll see the focus. Let's move it. You'll see the focus will change. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely phenomenal? So if I set it to about there, we're back in focus. You can adjust white balance. You can adjust your iris. So again, if we go into iris, so let's click on iris. So we've got go to iris. That's now brought up the iris settings. So at the moment it's set to f2.8, 180 degrees shutter, which would be right. You can either set in the menu to be shown as a shutter speed or shutter angle. I prefer angle, as I've got my GH5 Mark II set to shutter angle. It makes a lot more sense rather than using shutter speed. But now, if we go back to the aperture, so I'm going to adjust the aperture. You'll see I move that wheel up and down, and the aperture has now gone to f8. So if we go back to the shot, it's gone dark. Let's move that again. And you'll see, in fact, you might be able to see as I do it. Do it that way. Yeah, look, see? And that is purely being controlled by my mobile phone app. It will do all sorts. It'll do the white balance. You can set your white balance. You can set near enough anything. ISO. So if I wanted to change the ISO. And I think this app, I think it was £5 I paid for it. But the fact that I can adjust aperture, exposure, ISO, white balance, and you can do snap to focus. This is great. This is a wonderful thing. So let's go back to the focus point. This sounds like an ad for this app, doesn't it? But I can assure you it isn't. So let's go back to focus. So we go back to that. Let's go back to focus. Right, so now we're back on focus. Let's knock the focus right out. So we've knocked the focus right out. You can clearly see that's knocked out. Now we'll go back, and on the bottom here there's a plus in a sort of a circle here. This plus, can't see it, there it is, a plus there. So now, if we go back to this, and it snaps it to the centre of the screen. So if I do that, that should snap to focus, and it has. Look at that. Isn't that phenomenal? And because it's manual focus, that isn't going to hunt. That is going to stay there now. And that is great for me, that you don't get, like you get with Panasonic cameras, a bit of pulsing going on in the background. You don't get any of that. And I can see this being a fantastic aid if I'm filming outdoors, for sake of argument. Now, obviously, I'm going to need to be able to see what I'm doing, but I've got very poor eyesight. So if I'm a bit of a distance away from the camera, I wouldn't even be able to see a monitor that's on the camera. So what I would do, and that's where this little gadget comes in handy, this gadget is a video transmitter. I've done a review of this video transmitter. I shall leave that in the link up here somewhere. But HDMI out from the HDMI port of the camera, straight into here. It's got the one HDMI input in there. Straight into that, and you use your iPad or your iPhone to look at the picture. So I can check the picture, you can check your white balance, you can check it's got false color on the app, a whole range of different things, focus peaking. So I can use that in conjunction with the app to be able to set the camera. And once it's set, isn't it? It's fantastic. So I'm loving this camera, even though it hasn't got continuous autofocus. The snap to focus works great, and that's fine for me. And the fact that it does recording internally, Blackmagic RAW and also Apple ProRes internally is fabulous. But the other fabulous thing is that a lot of people have discovered you can plug in a USB-C drive, and I'm using like the Samsung T5, which I'm using here, to record externally. I mean, that's fabulous as well. So there's 3 recording options that you've got with this particular camera. Externally to a USB drive, USB SSD, you know, solid state drive, and internally to either a CFast card, CFast 2, or SD card, as long as, I say, the card has fast enough read and write speeds. So this camera has so many flexibilities, and it's light. I've got it rigged out on a cage at the moment, which is a half cage, a small rig half cage, and I think that's working. You know, that's working fine. Quite happy with that. You know, it's a great piece of kit. I want to see how good the quality is outdoors. Everyone's saying how brilliant it is, so I'm going to be testing that for myself just to see how great it is. Obviously, I'm outputting a Rec 709 signal into me A10 Mini Pro. It's not a log profile, it's not a log signal or anything of that nature, but it doesn't need to be in here because the A10 Mini Pro is only a HD switcher. It's a HDMI HD switcher. It hasn't got image stabilization, but it's a cinema camera. So most cinema cameras don't have image stabilization. I know the Panasonic S5s, the S1H, and also the other Panasonic cameras have fantastic 5-axis image stabilization, and they are great cinema cameras as well. But because of the dynamic range that this camera produces, I think, you know, you can forgive the fact that it hasn't got image stabilization. Use it on a tripod or use it on a gimbal or whatever. You know, it's light enough to put on a gimbal, and its range of lenses is very flexible. Being that it's got the micro four thirds mount, that makes the range of lenses extremely flexible, because you can put a Metabones speed booster on it, or any other manufacturer speed booster, and connect Canon EF lenses, and you can get the simulation of a full frame image. And I haven't tried any of that yet. I'm just using the native micro four thirds lenses. I've got several of them, being that I've got a GH5 Mark II and I've got a couple of Olympus cameras, and you know, it's beautiful. It's working really great. Battery power is an issue with it, apparently. It runs off the Canon LPE6 battery. I'm actually running off mains power. It actually comes with a mains power block, so I've just plugged that straight into the mains. I'll use that in the studio on mains. Don't need to run it off batteries. But I have got a V-lock battery adapter So, it's all, it's all really, really good. And on the back, you've got a touchscreen. It's actually, the touchscreen is fabulous. I don't know if that camera will be able to pick this up, but you can tap in to check your focus. I've got focus peaking turned on as well, so it's got all these fabulous focus aids, and you just move the image around to check to see that you are in focus where you hope, well, not hoping, where you think it has focused. So, and the menu structure, I'm not going to play with a menu while it's feeding the signal through, so I don't know if it will crash it. But its menu structure is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. It's the best I've seen yet. And again, I have no idea why other manufacturers have not been able to, do what Blackmagic are doing. With its app, I think its app is fabulous, or this app. I don't know if it's Blackmagic's app, but why aren't other manufacturers doing that? They've all got Bluetooth to their phones. You can't see an image on the app because it is only a Bluetooth control. It's designed just to control the camera. It's not designed to be able to see what you're doing. You'd probably need Wi-Fi for that. But it's fabulous. Everything about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera is fabulous. I was going to say, other than the fact that it hasn't got 5-axis image stabilization and a tilty-wilty screen, but you can't say other than that because it was never meant to have that sort of those features. I think, as I said earlier, I keep saying it, value for money is fabulous. So there we go. That's my introduction to the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera. I will be going out and about more with it, and I'll be doing more demonstrations with it. I'm absolutely loving the kit. I really am. So I've come outdoors so I can show you what I meant by using my Axon Wi-Fi transmitter with my iPad to be able to see the image, and then I'm using my iPhone app, as you can see here, to actually control the camera, set the focus. I've already preset the focus, so I'm hoping that I've done that about right. Difficult to say because it's so sunny out here. I've actually put a variable ND filter on the front of the lens because I was shooting at like f/18 and it was going right off the scale. So I put my variable ND filter on to get back to a better level. So I can have a wider aperture. I'm using my Hollyland Lark 150 radio mics, and that's absolutely fine. That's going straight into me Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and I'm using this iPad. You won't be able to see that picture because it's far too sunny, but that's actually showing me a visual image of what the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K is seeing. So even though I'm quite a distance away from the camera, it doesn't matter that the camera hasn't got a tilting screen because I'm using the video transmitter to transmit the image to me iPad. I can look at me exposure, I can look at me white balance. It's got all sorts of parameters at the bottom here, so you can check all sorts of things to do with the exposure, focus checker and what have you. But the great thing is I can use this iPad in conjunction with the Bluetooth remote app for checking the focus and setting the focus. And I heard to say I've done that earlier. I'm pretty sure I've got that, reasonably sharp. If I haven't, forgive me, because it's so sunny out here. It's incredibly difficult to see. On that note, seeing the back of a screen is quite difficult in this bright sunshine. It's not a high nit value screen, so it's not incredibly bright. So just bear that in mind. You probably are best off getting another external monitor that's got a higher value for seeing, using it outdoors, such as the Ninja 5, the Atomos Ninja 5. Well, I've got in the studio. I should have used that really. That is brilliant because that is really bright in sunny conditions. I'm actually also recording to the external SSD drive. I was going to record to the internal drive. I've got the internal SD card, but I only had, I think, 38 minutes or 30 minutes of record time. So I set it up to record to the SSD, and I think that's working fine. I can see a tally light on. I can see an orange light on the top. It might be the SSD light, I'm not sure. Yeah, so that all seems to be working fine. I'm recording in ProRes, So I'm not using Blackmagic RAW, I'm just recording in ProRes 422. That helps me again putting it straight into the computer. I'm recording it as a Rec 709, so I'm being, you know, quite, I like to use the word lazy, but I don't want to bother using a log profile because I don't want to grade it. So again, this particular clip isn't to show what the image quality of a Blackmagic 4K can do. It's to show how useful these the app is, the Axoon app, along with the video transmitter, and how fabulous the, as I said earlier, the iPhone app is, you know. And of course on the iPhone 13, it's a really bright screen. So I can see all these settings as clear as anything. I've got it set to f4.8, obviously still at 25 frames per second and 180 degree shutter angle. So I'm not going to muck with the focus. Manually white balancing is a doddle. A piece of white card, or preferably a proper grayscale card would be preferable, but it's an absolute doddle. Again, I wish other manufacturers would look at how Blackmagic are doing things, because it's working really, really well. So there we go, that's a quick outdoor test of the app that I'm running here. I'm running my iPad Pro, an old one, but an iPad Pro, and the transmission is working fine. Setting that up so I can actually see what I'm doing, and saying the sound is coming from my Hollyland Lot 150. So there we go. Hope you found this additional clip quite useful. So thanks very, very much for watching. Really, really appreciate that. Stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography, and hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and share it, that would be fabulous, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I have noticed in my YouTube analytics that it's 80% of people that watch my content are not subscribers. So if you're one of those 80% will you please subscribe? It really does help me grow the channel. Really, really appreciate that. So once again, thanks very, very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography and audio, and more videos relating to the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Cheers for now. Bye.